Meet with government soon to discuss the way forward following the decision by FutureGrowth to stop lending money to some of the country's largest state-owned companies. Analysts say investor confidence in the government's ability to properly manage SOEs could drop further. The affected SOEs are Eskom, Transnet, Sunrail, the Land Bank, the IDC and the Development Bank of Southern Africa. FutureGrowth, one of South Africa's biggest asset managers, says it plans to only do business with SOEs with credible management, acting in the best interest of their companies. FutureGrowth says the decision was informed by perceived poor leadership at some of those institutions. Eskom wants to meet with the government to find out what its plans are in terms of the establishment of a presidential coordinating council on SOEs. Well, for more on this, let's cross back to Nompu Siziba live at the JSE.
Thanks very much, Francis. Well, I'm joined by Ian Cruikshanks from the South African Institute of Race Relations to look at the issue of FutureGrowth a little bit further, the implications and so on. Thank you very much for joining us, Ian.
Always good to be with you.
Good stuff. Now, FutureGrowth is an asset management company. Yes. It looks after about 170 billion rands worth of assets and so on. But before we get into its decision, just tell us what proportion of the South African loans market to government and to SOE it actually occupies.
Well, let's first of all say who is FutureGrowth. It's a boutique management fund, investment management fund, invests funds mostly on behalf of the Old Mutual. As you say, about 170 billion, one of the largest, not as large as the PIC, who looks after the government employees pension fund. That is the largest fund, but it is very significant. The big risk here is the fact they may be a leader, they're leaders in their industry. Are they going to set a trend? If this trend gets followed, then we have big funding problems. Government is in a very deep hole that they have dug for themselves, and it could get deeper.
Okay. So it sounds like a bit of an obvious question, but what do you think informed their decision to withdraw funding?
They were concerned about management, about governance. Are the funds that are being managed properly managed, responsibly managed? Are they being kept with strong investment guidelines? Is there a danger that the funds, the entities in which they invest, the state-owned enterprises like Eskom and so on, are they properly managed? Is there proper oversight on their operations? And I think the fact that the point is even raised is a very big concern, because it's not only South African investors, foreign investors are huge investors in our bond market, and that's very important. Just to give you an idea, although we've had an outflow of foreign funds from the equity market of about 80-odd billion so far this year to date, it's almost been matched by nearly as much, 70-odd billion, new funds inflow into the bond market. This is a big market.
Now, with the Pravin Gordhan Hawk saga continuing, do you think that FutureGrowth, you did touch on it earlier, do you think that they will be setting a trend and we'll see others following?
Well, they've set a spark, and you can start a bushfire. So, this is the risk. No, we can't say for sure what will happen, but I think they've said they're going to ask some questions. There will be others wanting to know the answers, and if they're not properly answered, they will ask more questions. And as I said, I think that could set a trend. If there's any doubt at all, then it raises the possibility of government having a struggle to offset its huge current account deficit, its budget deficit. Always the minister says when he presents his budget, he says not to worry about those deficits. It's going to be offset by foreign portfolio flows. These are going the wrong way, or look like it, and that is the problem. What would happen if this did carry on? What would happen is we'd find it harder to access funds. This is what happened in the debt standstill after P.W. Botha's infamous Rubicon speech. We got cut off from foreign banks. Chase Manhattan led the way. He says, we don't like them, we're not going to lend them any more money. And by the way, we'd like our existing loans back again. Oh, that would be a very difficult space for us to be in. It would force the whole business sector to a standstill, and really that would have very, very difficult circumstances for the investment community as a whole.
I know you're not a government minister, but do you think that this action will be taken seriously by government so as to avoid the sort of trend that you're talking about?
Yes.
Because now government has been saying consistently, or at least Treasury, they want self-sustaining state-owned enterprises. And if they don't get money, they're obviously not going to be able to self-sustain.
Yes. Look, if a change doesn't come about, if government doesn't realize that, this is the edge of a cliff, one more step backwards and that's the end of it, I think one hopes sense will prevail. However, one can't rely on that.
Indeed. Well, we're going to leave it there.
Okay,
Thank you for your time, as always. Well, there you have it. Ian says there are lots of risks out there, and he's hopeful that perhaps government will be able to talk to the investors that want to speak to them about the state of the state-owned enterprises. We have to hold our breath and see what happens. It's back to you, Francis.